Hello, boys and girls. STEAM Tuesday again. I'm so excited. I have a brand new STEAM challenge for us this week, and it's going to be a fun one. So, I happen to notice that in the forecast over the next few days, we have a lot of rain. Boo. So, that got my brain thinking. I started thinking about a design challenge that could maybe get us out and play in the rain a little bit. And so, I came up with a boat challenge. So, what we're going to do this week is we're going to build some boats and we're going to pretend that we are stranded on a desert island and we have to build some sort of boat to get home. So I've got a little presentation to share with you that details the project a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and share that now, and I can't wait to get started. Okay, so this is the boat building STEM challenge. You're going to design and build a boat this week. So excited. And here's a little video about our backstory. Very dramatic. Doesn't that look like fun, guys? All right. All right, so here is a little bit more about our challenge. You are this week challenged to design and build a boat using the following criteria and constraints. And so what I've done is I've created a little table here for you, and I will share this presentation with you in Schoology. I've created a little table because the challenge is going to be a little different for my K through 2 friends than it is for my 3rd through 6th friends. Now, my 2nd graders, since you're moving into 3rd grade, I'm going to allow you to choose which challenge you would like to participate in. I think you can handle the 3rd through 6th, but it's up to you. So the K through 2 challenge, your criteria, your requirements are that your boat must float on water and not tip over. And then your constraints, your limiting factors are the materials that you can use. You have to use materials that you can find in your home. Some examples of things that you might like to use are fruit, tin foil, cardboard, straws, bottles, cups, anything like that you can find around your house to make your boat. But make sure that you ask permission before you start sticking stuff together and making boats out of it, okay? Now, our 3rd through 6th challenge is a little bit different. Your criteria are that your boat needs to carry as much load as possible without sinking. Our friend who's stranded on a desert island has weight, he has mass, and so your boat needs to be able to carry him. It also needs to be able to carry supplies because the boat is going to take some time to be able to get him home. So it needs to be able to carry enough food for him to survive as long as he's going to be on the boat, and also water. So your challenge is to make sure that your boat can carry some weight. You can measure your capacity in things that you can find around your home, like pennies, pebbles, washers, metal washers, screws or nails, marbles, anything you can find around your house that has some weight to it. But also make sure that you're asking permission before you're grabbing those things and using them. Your constraint is that your build time should be around 30 minutes or less. I'm not going to be there to time you, so this is on the honor system, but I would like you to try and build your boat in 30 minutes or less. And then, and the reason I'm putting that time limit on there is because I'd like for you, after you test your boat and you sink it using weights, then I'd like you to redesign, change it up a bit, get that second iteration in there, and see if you can make a more successful boat that can carry more weight. So, before you start building, you need to know what makes boats float. So I want to talk to you about a new vocabulary word today called displacement. Displacement is when an object pushes aside water. So I want you to think about a container of water. You can even go try this if you'd like before you get started on your challenge. Let's say that I have a bowl of water and I fill that bowl all the way to the top. It is full, full, full. What do you think would happen, boys and girls, if I put an apple in that bowl of water? If you said that some of the water would spill out, you are correct. Some of the water would spill out because there's not room for anything else in the bowl. The bowl was full. So the same idea applies to how boats float. Boats displace water. It pushes the water to the side. And the amount of water it pushes aside is dependent on how heavy the boat is. So that's how boats float. That combined with buoyancy is what makes boats float. And we've talked about buoyancy before. Buoyancy is the air inside of something that causes it to float. So I'm going to show you a really quick video. This one's super fast, just to talk about how boats float. And then we'll talk a little bit more about our design challenge.
Hey guys! Oh, hey there, Squid! How's it going?
I'm kind of cranky right now.
Oh
I love how they're on a Zoom
no one
call.
wants that. What's bothering you?
Cruise ships.
Cruise ships?
Yeah, cruise ships. You know, those giant boats that you people sail around in. There's been one floating above me all day, and I can't get any sleep. I mean, it's huge and noisy. It's like a floating city. So instead of sleeping, I've just been bobbing awake, staring at it, and wondering. How does a giant ship like that float on the water? I mean, everything's sinking water, right? Like when someone up there tosses a rock into the ocean, which happens, you know, it sinks. So why does that heavy ship get to float?
The reason a big heavy ship like that can float has to do with its shape. Whether an object sinks or floats to begin with has a lot to do with something called displacement. Displacement is when an object displaces or pushes aside water. So, like when you drop an ice cube into an already full glass of water, some water spills out.
That's displacement?
That's right. The amount of water that spills out is actually equal to the amount of space the ice cube takes up. Or think about when you take a bath.
Hold on, wait, what's a bath?
Well, up here, we like to clean ourselves by soaking in a tub full of nice, warm, soapy water.
That sounds gross. Do you mean that humans just walk around all day getting dirty? If you spend all your time in the water like me, you'd never get dirty in the first place.
Well, not everyone's the same, right? I know some of the people watching here know what a bath is.
Okay.
So, say you fill the bathtub up all the way to the top, and then you climb in. Now there's water on the floor, lots of water. The amount of water equal to the amount of space that you took up. Now, one of the secrets to an object being able to float is that it has to displace enough water so that the water it pushes aside weighs as much as it does. All right, so say you're in the tub and you want to do an experiment. You can bring a small bowl and some rocks from your rock collection. If you put the bowl in the water, it'll float, because the bottom of the bowl is displacing some of the water, and the amount of water that it's pushing aside weighs the same as the bowl. Now, drop a little rock in there. Add another, and another. The bowl is getting heavier, so it's sinking a little bit each time. But even though the bowl is heavier, it's also displacing more water. So the amount of water that it's pushing aside still weighs the same as the bowl.
So what does that mean for the cruise ship? Why doesn't it sink?
Ships are designed to displace as much water as possible. They're really wide, and their bottoms tend to stretch down really far, so they push aside a lot of water. Plus, a ship has lots of empty space inside it. A lot of it is hollow, which helps to keep it light compared to the huge amount of water that it's displacing. And voila, it floats.
Okay. So that giant noisy party over my head right now is displacing enough water that it can float. Well, you people may be noisy, but the fact that you figured out how to build giant metal things that float, that's pretty clever. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but some of my favorite things tend to be clever and noisy. Thanks for joining Squid and me and learning about displacement. See you next time.
Bon voyage!
Okay, so to just review what was said in the video, the reason boats float is because they displace water, and the amount of water they displace or push aside matches the weight inside the boat. And I also heard her say, when she talked about the big cruise ships, that the reason that the giant cruise ships can float is because of how wide and how deep they go. So when you're creating your design, my 3rd through 6th graders, and you're trying to carry a lot of weight, I want you to think about how width and depth might affect displacement. Okay? All right, next up. So normally in class, before we do a STEAM challenge, I usually have you plan. I usually have you imagine and then sketch. Draw out your design, list materials, and make some predictions. And so what I'd like for you to do at home, if you can, is do the same thing. Sit down with a piece of paper and, or even on the computer, draw up a design, come up with a supply list, and draw up a design and sort of think about what you're going to do before you do it. Plan in that planning phase. For 3rd through 6th, remember to keep the capacity in mind. And for my K through 2 or K1, depending on my 2nd graders, if you decide to do the 3rd through 6th challenge, think about what floats. What floats that you have in your house. Gather those supplies and start thinking about what you want your boat to look like. So please plan before you get started on your build. So the next step after you build and test is to analyze. Think about what happened. And so I want you to think about what was successful about your design. I want you to think about, if you were to build another boat, what would you change? And then the last thing I want you to think about is what information would help you improve your design. Maybe you should do some research about boats before you redesign and see what you could change about your boat to make it more successful. I wanted to share some examples with you. Obviously, there are many, many more ways you can build boats, but I did want to give you at least a visual so that you could see that it is possible to build a boat out of stuff you have at home. These are some great examples. I'm sure you can find some of these things around your house. And then Mrs. Hughes, likes for you to go to Flipgrid and share your design with me. Here are some questions that I want you to think about sharing with me when you go to Flipgrid. What surprised you about this challenge? What, if any, frustrations did you have? In your next design, what would you want to try or change about the challenge? Look back at those criteria and constraints. Would you change those? And then when Thomas Edison was trying to invent the light bulb, this is incredible, it took more than 10,000 tries. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." When you make your Flipgrid video, discuss your reaction to this quote. How does that make you feel? Okay, so it's time to start imagining and planning and building your boats. Now, I'm assuming that with the rain, you'll have some collections of water around your house, whether it be a big puddle or maybe your street gutters get a little flooded, or maybe you live near a little pond or something like that. Make sure that you ask permission, of course, before you go out and play in any kind of bodies of water. And if you don't have anything like that around you, you can always fill up your tub, fill up your sink. If you go on a hike, maybe take your boat design with you and see if you can find any water on your hike and test your boat there. So there are lots of different ways that you can test your boat design. But I'm excited and I can't wait to see your designs. Remember to go to flipgrid.com/steamathome and share your experience with me. I can't wait to hear how it goes and see your smiling faces. It was great to see you again this week, boys and girls. I miss you so much. Bye. Have fun.